Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I know that right now Zion Grand is having a lot of hype in the market, and if you are also one of the buyers looking for a good buy in the market, I'm very excited to share Zion Grand with you. I have a lot of clients who have put down check for Zion, and they all need me to do this one thing, which is the safe entry scorecard. So with much request from them, and I also understand that some of you are also thinking about this project, let me share with you what I have analyzed for this project and what actually is safe for you to enter. We are going to divide them into 2-bedder and 3-bedder for part 1 and part 2. So today, as you're watching my video, I will be talking about part 1, which is 2-bedder, and the next series will be part 2, the 3-bedder. We will be covering the price analysis for your new launches, which is around you, as well as the resale transactions to see whether we are able to support the transactions in Zion Grand. At the same time, we are also going to look at the floor plans comparison to see is there any chance for you to have potential savings from them as well. And lastly, we will then combine all the information together so that we can see what is actually safe for low risk, and then what is mid risk, and what are the floor levels and price range that I consider as high risk. So you must stay till the end for this 2-bedder safe entry scorecard. Let's take a look at one of the biggest concerns that most of us are having for Zion. Firstly, we understand that back-to-back there's going to be a few launches together for Zion area alone, as well as River Valley. So we have River Green and Promenade Peak, and even River Modern, which is coming up next in Q1 2026. And we also have Zion Grand at 706 units, as well as Parcel C on River Valley, which should be around Q2 to Q3 of 2026. With all these new launches in the whole of River Valley area, it will make up to a total of 2,766 units. I do understand that some of us are having concern whether is this going to be a risky purchase, because when I'm going to sell, there's going to be a lot of supply in the market. What if I cannot offload? That is why safety net is very important, and that's what I also advocate for. Now let's take a look whether will there still be take-up rate, like a little bit of forecast, whether is there going to be a good response for Zion area itself. We understand that based on River Green and PP, there is a total of 1,464 checks collected that time for River Green, and for Promenade Peak is 700 over checks. And the actual number of transactions that has happened for both projects adds up to about 465 for River Green and Promenade Peak at 347. This makes up to a total of 1,352 buyers left, assuming if they are still looking for a unit in the market. And if you take a look at Zion itself, we all know that it's the biggest plot in the area. What we have for Zion is a whopping 15,000. So for someone who is thinking of investing, we want to buy a project with very nice landscaping, with enough number of units, and yet at the same time, we want it to be also undervalued. Next, let's take a look at 2-bedder safe entry scorecard. As mentioned earlier, we are going to look at Tier 1 and Tier 2. Tier 1 means the new launch transaction, are we able to support? Whereas Tier 2 is the resale prices, where we want to know whether is there a price gap from us versus resale. In the whole of this River Valley and Zion area, one is in the CBD area, which makes up to a total of 8 developments, but out of the 8 developments, there's 5 that is above 60 floor with 2 bedrooms. Conversely, for Zion area, there's only 2 towers that is above 60 floor, one being Promenade Peak, another one being Zion Grand. That means to say, next time if you're going to put your unit up for sale in the market, it will seem like the higher level units, which is like maybe 40, 50 floor onwards, to even up to 60th floor, will have a very beautiful unblocked view as compared to the rest of the development around there. We want to also know about the benefit of us getting a higher level if we are able to buy at a not so high price tag, and we are still able to exit at a very relative safety net of 200,000 to 400,000. With that, let's take a look at our GLS. We are kind of able to estimate what kind of price range are the developers going to be launched at. For Zion Grand, we know that even though there's service apartment and a lot more construction costs involved, their break-even will add up to 2,091 PSF per plot ratio. Compared to Promenade Peak, which was launched before Zion, their break-even was 2,229 per square feet per plot ratio. That could also explain why the developer decided to build larger floor plates with a higher price quantum, because they also want to cover most of their costs. For Zion area itself, there's a spread of one bed plus study all the way to their penthouse series. That having said, Promenade Peak starts from two bedder. In this case, it's going to target both a mixture of own stay buyers as well as investors at the same time. We also want to buy a location where there's investment element to it. The reason is because that is where the most of the volume comes in to help us to push up our price. And for own stay, most of us know that at least we need to stay for about 3 to 5 years. This means that there might not be a lot of units in the market for sale if you're looking at the 3-bedder onwards to 4 and 5-bedder, because these are usually people who are buying for own stay. With that, let's take a look at the competitor pricing. For Promenade Peak itself 2-bedder, their 2-bedroom compacts starts from 657 square feet. And the entry price starts from 1.78 all the way to 2.4 million. There's a very big price range of up to 700,000. Let's take a look at the transaction from low floor, mid floor and high floor. Because in order for us to know what price is safe for us to enter, we also want to take notice of price gap difference when it comes to me buying Zion versus my competitors buying. Will I be able to see a more fair approach towards the difference so that I know I'm not buying impulsively? With Promenade Peak, we know that their low floor has already transacted up to an average per square feet of 2,800, and this adds up to 1.8 plus million. For the mid floor in Promenade Peak, you can notice their per square feet starts from 2,900 range, and their transaction is also at around 1.9 million range. The high floor, usually ranging from 32 all the way to their highest at 42, has already transacted up to 3,000 over per square feet, amounting to over $2 million. This is only for their 2-bedroom compact. For 2-bedroom premium, you can notice that their low floor transacted also starting from 2008, amounting to 1,009 plus million, and their size is at 678 square feet. Their mid floor transacted at 2,009 plus per square feet, amounting to 2 million and above, and for the high floor also per square feet at 3,000 all the way to 2.05 million onwards. With this, let's also take a look at River Green because it was actually launched concurrently with Promenade Peak at that time. With Parcel A, which is River Green, you can notice their per plot ratio is transacted at 2,258 per square feet. This makes a lot of sense why River Green eventually has to sell out to 3,005 per square feet because of this high break-even point. So for Parcel B itself has already been awarded to Guacoland. We have rumors saying that it's River Modern. Their per plot ratio has already gone up to 2,386 PSF. This means that if you are waiting for the next batch that is going to launch after Zion, it is likely that you're going to see a higher PSF starting from because of the nature of higher break-even amounts. Let's take a look at how River Green has already transacted. For their units, we know that their sizes belongs to more of the smaller unit type. The reason why this was designed was because Wing Tai felt that they wanted to make the amount more palatable for consumers. Therefore, the quantum looks smaller. However, you can also expect that their per square feet is relatively higher than Promenade Peak. That's the reason why you can notice their low floor PSF starts from 3,000, averaging at 1.58 million for their 2-bed 1-bath. And for their mid-floor, their PSS starts from 3,200 range, averaging about 1.72 million. Then for the high floor, you can see that the per square feet has gone up to 3,004 per square feet, which already transacted at 1.8 and above. This is only for their 2-bed 1-bath. What about their 2-bed premium? 2-bed premium being 603 square feet. The low floor has already transacted up to 1.88 million with a per square feet of 3,001 onwards. And their mid-floor has transacted from 2.04 million with a PSF of 3,003 onwards. And then for the high floor, their PSF has transacted above 3,005, amounting to 2.12 million. Why do you need to know all this? Because later on, we are going to consolidate all this information into one summary page. Then we can take reference to the comparison of Zion to see whether it makes sense. Now we are moving on to Tier 2, which is Revere. For Revere, we know that it has just TOP'd recently, and their sizes are also built on a relatively larger floor plate, with 1-bedder being 560 square feet. They have transacted from 1.4 all the way to 1.8 million. With that, their low floor ranges about 1.5 million, mid-floor ranges about 1.65, and high floor ranges about 1.82. I'm going to focus a lot on the quantum for Revere side because it's a non-harmonized project. So looking at the quantum will give you some sensing whether next time they buy it at 1.5 million, example for the low floor one bedder, they will likely have to sell it at least a plus 300,000, which means that 1.8 million should be the low floor selling price in future. Similarly, for their mid floor, you also need to add another 2 to 300,000 from what they have purchased at, because no seller want to sell at a loss. I wouldn't be surprised if in the resale market in future, you're going to see that reverse one bedder is going to be calling for 1.9 million range, where else you can also see Zion's Grand 2-bed 1-bath calling for almost the same price. So this is the part where, as I'm doing my research, I realize it's quite interesting because it's very hard to find a new launch selling at or even lower than a resale price, and that's what I'm observing in Zion. So let's move on to Reve's 2-bed 2-bath, which is at 818 square feet. They have transacted as low as 1.9 million all the way to 2.7 million. That having said, low floor ranges around 2.3 million, mid floor around 2.4, and high floor around 2.6. Let's take a look at the summary of everything that I just shared. For low floor in Promenade Peak, the sizes is 657 and 678. And for River Green, the size is 527 and 603 for their 2-bed premium. As compared to Zion Grand, you can notice that the size are more leaning towards River Green's sizes for their 2-bed 1-bath. Whereas for their 2-bed 2-bath, you can notice that it's more leaning towards Promenade Peak's compact 2-bedder. For River itself, you can see that the size is 560 square feet only for their 1-bedder. Whereas for their 2-bedder, it starts from 818 square feet, which means if it's harmonized, it will be at 760 square feet. What kind of difference are we going to expect? For Zion's Grand's 538 square feet, we have prices as low as 1.4 million all the way to 1.5 million. If you take comparison to all the prices above that I just mentioned, the 538 square feet actually have a safety net of 26,000 as compared to River Green because they are almost the same size. They are actually the same price as River's 1-bedder, which means that in Zion Grand, you're going to get a 2-bed 1-bath at the same price as River's 1-bedder. Usually, you will see new launches having at least 2 to 300,000 difference from the previous resale. But right now, we are seeing a reverse effect, and that makes it very exciting for anyone who is looking at a good buy in this area. Moving forward to the 646 square feet, you can see that there's a safety net of 20,000 as compared to River Green, because River Green has transacted up to 1.88 million for their lower levels, and then for Zion Grand is 1.86 million for their lower level. This gap is about 20,000, and that is also a plus point for the 2-bed 1-bath. I normally wouldn't really upsell 2-bed 1-bath, but when I look at these numbers and I look at my current clients' budget, they could also consider a 1.5 million at an OCR area, or even like 1.5 million a 1-bedder in RCR at this point of time. But right now, we are able to go into a almost CCR plot with only 1.5 million, and this is at their 21st floor already. So what about the 646? So back to our 2-bed 2-bath, you can see the safety nets between River and Zion Grand is up to 440,000. The difference is 114 square feet from Zion Grand, which is 646, as compared to 818 square feet. If I unharmonize it, it's actually 760. But with this 440,000 of safety net, I can't help but start asking myself that in this case, wouldn't it make the 2-bed 2-bath also equally exciting? And this is only at the lower level. With this super low risk protected by new launch and resale transaction, I may now take more preference towards starting from the higher level downwards. But let's look at the numbers to make sense. I'm very sure we are also wondering, with all this comparison, what kind of difference are you expecting for the floor plate? For Zion Grand's 538 square feet versus River's 560 square feet, one being a 2-bed 1-bath, one being a 1-bedder, you are able to potentially enjoy 350,000 of savings. Now, why is that so? Because for River's 1-bedder, they have transaction up to 1.822 million in 2023 alone as a new sale. And this is very important for you to know because if you take comparison to their sizes side by side, their living room has almost the same size. But there is actually a balcony in River that adds up to 7 square meter that most of us may not actually use it, especially for smaller unit types. And then for master room, equally they are the same size. And what is the difference is an aircon ledge of 3 square meter. With the balcony 7 square meter and aircon ledge 3 square meter, it amounts to an internal usable space of 42 square meter in Revere itself, as compared to Zion Grand, which is totally usable at 50 square meter. What is also very important to know is that you now have one additional bedroom over here that you can use for your guests, with an amount that is potentially 350,000 difference. If Zion Grand is going to be launched at 2,008 per square feet, let's say you enter at 1.5 million, what you will still get is also another saving of 316,000 with a purchase price of 1.822 with a difference of 316,000. This makes Zion Grand so much more logical in the purchase. Let's say if Zion Grand is 3,200 per square feet, does it still make sense? So if you take a look at this 1.721 million, which is 3,002 per square feet, you will now be able to still save 100,000 and get one additional bedroom because of this 10 square meter where Revere only has one bedroom. So let's move on to the mid-level. Promenade Peak has a transaction of up to 1.92 million, and also for their 2-bedroom premium up to 2 million, whereas for River Green ranges from 1.72 million to 2.04 million for their compact and also premium 2-bedder. For Zion itself, you may notice that the entry price is 1.65 million and also 1.975 million for the size of 538 square feet and 646. This means that if you take reference to only these two as a new launch, you can see that there's a safety net of 70,000 as compared to River Green at 1.65 versus 1.72 million. And if I take reference to resale, for Revere, 1-bedder is already transacting at 1.65 million. If I compare to Zion Grand, it's literally uncomparable because 1-bedder versus 2-bedder is kind of no-brainer for people to consider buying. With that, I do think that even for mid-level at 538 square feet, it is still very safe for us to enter, and I still see that the risk is relatively low. For 646 square feet, which is their 2-bedroom premium, you can see that there's a safety net of 65,000 from River Green because Zion Grand is going to enter at about 1.975 million as compared to River Green, which has already transacted up to 2 million. As compared to Revere, you can notice that their entry price is at 2.4 million for 818 2-bedroom compact in Revere with a safety net of 425,000 in Quantum. This made the 2-bed 2-bath extremely enticing, even though it's 114 square feet difference from harmonized and unharmonized difference. What kind of layout are we expecting? Let's take a look at Zion Grand versus Awell Hill. In the market, let's say I'm going to put my unit up for sale in another 4 to 5 years' time. Awell Hill is also going to be one of my competitors. And with that, their size is also quite comparable with us. By looking at the floor plan, you can see that Awell Hill has transacted up to 2.2 million in 2025 alone. And 2.2 million as compared to Zion Grand, they are going to enter at about 1.6 million all the way to 1.7 million. With this very different in their entry price, what you will expect is more usable space. Let's break it down into the numbers. You can see that Zion Grand is entering at 1.8 million with 2,008 per square feet. Awell Hill at 2.2 million, there is a difference of 421,000. You're not going to expect a very big difference as compared to Awell. This makes Zion Grand also very attractive because I'm buying a brand new launch, and in the future, if I'm going to sell, I'm a brand new resale as compared to Awell, which is a mid-age resale already. So let's say, for example, during the ballot, developers say, oh, okay, I want to increase the price to 3,002 per square feet, or the higher level is 3,002 per square feet. This will mean that you will enter their 2-bedder at 2 million. With 2 million as compared to Awell at 2.2 million, you are going to have a safety net of 162,000. So in the future, this is going to be a new resale, whereas this is going to be a mid-age resale. Both entry prices are already relatively different. Even if I'm going to sell at the same price of, let's say, 2.5 million, I am very confident that most people might take a liking more for Zion Grand versus Awell, because if you have seen Awell is a beautiful project from CDL, but Zion Grand is the iconic project of that area. So that makes a lot of difference when it comes to resale in the market. Lastly, if, for example, developers say, oh, I want to increase the price to 3,004 per square feet, or let's say you Based on your queue number, you have to go up to really the higher level, and it is already at 3,004 per square feet. Of course, the safety net now narrows into 34,000, but you still get a very usable space, and you're actually able to enter at 10 floor higher as compared to a Wells Hill 2.2 million. So let's take a look at the high floor for all the projects. For Promenade Peak, their entry price is 2 million and 2.05 million for 2-bed, compact and premium. For River Green is 1.8 to 2.12 million. And then let's take a look at Zion Grand. For Zion Grand is 1.79 million and 2.01 million for their 2-bed premium. Then in comparison with Revere, same thing, their 1-bedder is 1.85 million and their 2-bed 2-bath is at 2.6 million. If you are considering a 2-bed 1-bath, you're going to expect a safety net of 10,000 as compared to River Green and Zion Grand, because one is 1.79 and one is 1.8. If you take a look at the comparison with Revere, which is the resale, you can notice that Zion Grand enters at 1.79 million range as compared to Revere, which is a 1-bedder at 1.85 million already transacted. This means that there's actually a 60,000 price gap between a 2-bed 1-bath and a 1-bedder. This also means that the 538 square feet high floor also makes sense to consider because of the safety net. Next, for the 646 square feet, there is also a safety net of 109,000 from 2 million all the way to 2.12 million. Even though you're saying that Revere is unharmonized, there is already a safety net of 589,000 because they have transacted up to 2.6 million for their 2-bed 2-bath. For a 2.6 million 2-bed 2-bath in Revere, which also has service apartment component, it got me wondering that with this 500,000 difference, one is harmonized, one is unharmonized. Even if I sell it at a slightly lower price than 2.6 million, I'm still able to save up to 400,000. So for those of you who are considering a good buy in Zion Grand, start from the 2-bed 2-bath. It will be much easier for you to sell in future. You can cater for a wider group of buyers. At the same time, you're also able to stay and be very comfortable in that space because it's a very efficient 2-bed 2-bath. Plus, with a 400,000 price gap of safety net, I think this is also something that I am very excited to share. Last piece of advice is, now we know that the 2-bed is actually at a very attractive price as compared to their resale and even my competitors for new launches. Not to even mention if River Modern is out with 2,300 per square feet per plot ratio for their break even, I'm going to expect that maybe they're going to sell at or same price as Zion. That will further enhance the sellability of Zion in future. If I were the buyer, I will now take a top-down approach. Top-down approach means that since the top floor, the mid floor and the low floor are still going to be very safe in terms of their entry price, I also want to have some opportunities to enter with a very nice view in future so that there will be buyers who appreciate these views and want to buy for own stay and even for investment. So let's say for resale, they come and view a mid floor versus a high floor and the price gap is not too much. I do think that people might favor a high floor more than a mid or low floor. So I have come to the end of my 2-bed sharing for Zion Grand. By now, you should be taking down some notes and you're looking at some of the stacks that you are thinking of buying and considering which one is a good buy. And if you are still very confused on what to choose and all this, you know where to find me. I will be more than happy to break down everything step by step with you based on your price range, your affordability, and what to choose, as well as comparing with your intended holding period in order to get a best buy. If you are also considering whether you want to get a compact 3-bedder in Zion, tune in to my part 2 because that's where I'll be talking about the 3-bedder. See you in my next part.